The chamber of the Galactic Council was silent. It was never silent. Usually it echoed with arguments, voices from hundreds of species debating trade, borders, and ancient rivalries. But not today. Today, fear had spread like a shadow across the stars. A message had arrived. Not just one message, but fragments, distress calls, broken signals, dying voices. Entire systems were gone. The recordings were short, often just screams before static swallowed them, and always in the background the same thing, silence after destruction. Civilizations that had lasted for millennia had been wiped away in a single night. Colonies, fleets, whole planets, no survivors, no warnings, only emptiness. The council members stared at the floating hologram at the center of the chamber. It showed the border regions of the galaxy. Once filled with the symbols of proud species, now it was covered in red marks, worlds gone dark. A voice finally broke the silence. Chancellor HFY of the Iran species, a race of long-limbed beings with translucent skin, spoke in a trembling tone. They expand without stopping. No diplomacy, no mercy, no reason. Entire civilizations erased. The other delegates shifted uneasily. Some hid their faces. Some whispered to their aides. The word was spreading. The mysterious empire, no one knew their true name, was unstoppable. Another delegate, Grand Minister Cowered of the Relari, slammed a hand against the table. We must do what others have done. We must surrender before it is too late. Chucked words echoed across the chamber like poison. Surrender. The galaxy had seen many wars. Empires had risen and fallen. But this was different. This enemy did not conquer, it consumed. Those who surrendered vanished as surely as those who resisted. Still, fear made surrender sound safer than defiance. A ripple of agreement moved through the chamber. One by one, leaders spoke, their voices heavy with terror. We cannot fight them. We must preserve what little we can. Perhaps if we submit, we will be spared. The debate went on for hours, but the outcome was already clear. Fear had broken the council. It had broken the galaxy, but far from the council chamber on the blue planet called Earth, the news reached human ears. Humanity was young by galactic standards. Barely 300 years had passed since humans had first reached the stars. To the older species, Earth was still considered reckless, inexperienced, and primitive. But when the warning came, humanity did not collapse into panic. On the contrary, something ancient stirred in them. In the halls of Earth's unified command, the recordings were played. Human generals, scientists, and leaders watched the same scenes the Council had seen. Planets burning, fleets destroyed, voices cut short. For a long time no one spoke. Then Admiral Cade, a veteran of Earth's outer wars, leaned forward. His voice was calm, steady, and without hesitation. We are not surrendering. The room shifted. Some looked shocked. Some nodded. The Prime Minister of Earth, a woman named Ilara Voss, folded her arms. The Council will pressure us. They will beg us to bow as they have bowed, but that is not our way. She paused, her eyes sharp. Our history is written in fire and defiance. Every time humanity was cornered, we fought, we survived. This will be no different. Her words spread across Earth, then to the colonies. Fear was there, yes, but something stronger rose above. In defiance, the galaxy whispered. The humans refused to bow. Alien news networks buzzed with disbelief. The humans are reckless. They do not understand the scale of this threat. They will bring doom upon themselves. But behind those public voices in private, some aliens wondered, how could this small, young species stand firm when ancient civilizations collapsed? Was it bravery or madness? Whispers began to grow. A phrase started circulating in hidden corners of the galaxy. If anyone can resist, it will be the humans. Still, most did not believe. They watched from afar, waiting for Earth's inevitable. 4 days turned into weeks. The mysterious empire continued its march. More alien fleets were sent to stop them. None returned. The council, desperate, demanded reports. All that came back were broken signals, screams, or the eerie silence of ships that no longer answered. One by one, star systems went dark. Entire populations gone. Refugees tried to flee, but even escaped ships vanished in the void. The council met again. Their voices were louder now, more desperate, more afraid. They cannot be stopped. We must offer everything, resources, slaves, anything to be spared. If we fight, we are finished. And again, the humans were silent in the chamber. Then Ambassador Rain of Earth stood and spoke just one word. Never. The word cut. Through the noise like a blade. The other delegates stared. Some in shock, some in pity, some in quiet admiration, but the council laughed bitterly. Foolish humans. They will be the next to fall. They do not understand what they face, yet behind their scorn was unease. Because even as their own voices shook with terror, humanity's voice was steady. Back on Earth, fleets moved in secret. Old warships hidden in forgotten docks were restored. Shipyards glowed with new construction. Factories worked without pause, building weapons the galaxy had not seen in centuries. The enemy had numbers. Humanity had will. And will could not be measured in fleets. Soldiers trained day and night. They learned new tactics, blending ancient strategies of Earth's bloody history with modern warfare. Boarding maneuvers, guerrilla strikes, sacrifice, missions, the kind of fighting the Council had long considered barbaric, but to humans it was survival. And survival was something humanity knew better than anyone. Alien spies reported humanity's defiance. Their reports spread across the galaxy. They are preparing to fight. They think they can win. They are different from us. Some species secretly admired them. A few even sent covert aid, supplies, intelligence, technology. But most stayed silent. Fear chained them. Still, in dark taverns on distant worlds, in hidden communication channels, the whispers grew. Perhaps humanity will do what we could not. Perhaps they will stand. Perhaps they will win. Meanwhile, the mysterious empire pushed closer. Their fleets were like storms, endless and merciless. Every world they touched went silent. Their motive remained unclear. They did not trade. They did not speak. They did not negotiate. They consumed alien refugees, begged the Council for protection, but the Council had no answers. Their armies were broken, their courage gone. But humanity did not wait for the storm to reach them. Scouts were sent into the dark, gathering every scrap of information about the enemy. Many never returned. The ones who did brought warnings. They are vast. They are ruthless. They do not fear death. Yet even these reports did not break humanity's spirit. The galaxy held its breath. Would Earth bow like the others? Would the humans finally break? But on Earth, something else was happening. A new phrase echoed across human space, painted on. All spoken in training camps, whispered before battle drills, "We do not bow." Alien leaders scoffed, but some shivered. Because deep down they knew this was not empty bravado. This was the truth of a species that had clawed its way through extinction, famine, and endless wars on their homeworld. A species that had always fought back, no matter the odds. The mysterious empire might destroy them, but humanity would never kneel, and as alien fleets continued to vanish into silence, the galaxy waited. Suspense tightened around every world, every star, every council meeting. The question was no longer if the humans would fight. The question was, what will happen when they do? ChatGPT said the Galactic Council chamber was filled with fear. The air was heavy. The lights dimmed, as if even the stars outside were hiding from what was coming. Reports had poured in across the galaxy, each more terrifying than the last. Systems fell in silence, whole worlds vanished without trace, and every fleet that rose to resist was broken, torn apart in hours. The Council had already made its choice. Species after species had bowed their heads, signed away their freedom, and prayed the mysterious empire would spare them. One by one, proud civilizations knelt in submission. The word had spread fast across every channel: surrender or vanish. But when the Council's attention turned toward Earth, their expectation was simple. Humanity, still young, still mocked as reckless, would bend. They would bow like everyone else. Only they didn't. When the Council's emissaries arrived, in human space, they came bearing the same words they had given to 100 other worlds. Kneel and be spared. Surrender your fleets, your defenses, your independence. Give up everything or be erased. The humans listened. Their leaders stood silently, faces carved in stone, while the alien emissaries spoke of safety through obedience. When the words ended, when the message was clear, Earth answered with silence. Then, slowly, the human Prime Minister rose and gave only 3 words: "We will not." It was as if the galaxy itself froze. The emissaries sputtered, tried to argue, threatened doom. But the human answer never changed. Not in the halls of power, not in the colonies, not in the fleets. The message spread across every broadcast. Humanity would not bow. The Council ridiculed them. The older species called them fools, a reckless child race that did not understand the scale of the threat. Even some humans felt the weight of fear, whispering that maybe surrender would be easier, maybe safer. But humanity's heart beat with defiance. They had survived too much to kneel now. On Earth, factories roared to life. Shipyards glowed in the darkness of orbit, constructing ships faster than ever before. Weapons long buried in secret vaults were unearthed. Plans older than the Council itself were dusted off. While the rest of the galaxy cowered, humans prepared. Quietly, methodically, they built their strength. Alien spies sent word back to their governments. Reports filled with disbelief. Humanity was not panicking. They were training harder, working faster, preparing for war as if war was their natural state. Generals drilled soldiers day and night. Fleets practiced maneuvers no Council navy had. Dared in centuries. Every man, every woman, every colony child was told the same truth. Humanity stood alone. And yet, there was something else, something unspoken, but powerful. In secret, some smaller civilizations began to watch humans with hope. They could not defy the Council openly. They could not risk the wrath of the advancing empire. But deep in hidden channels, secret messages traveled. Supplies quietly delivered, intelligence shared, whispers of support. It was not enough to turn the tide, but it was enough to light a spark. Meanwhile, the mysterious enemy kept advancing. They never slowed, never paused. Their fleets were endless shadows swallowing the light of stars. Entire sectors went dark. Every civilization that had bowed was consumed anyway, just as humanity had predicted. Yet still fear ruled the galaxy. Still, the Council turned its back on Earth. The humans noticed. They understood that no help would come. There would be no fleets from allies, no protection from the Council, no unity from those who called themselves galactic leaders. Humanity would fight alone, or it would die alone, and yet on Earth there was no despair. Instead, there was fire. Soldiers swore oaths not of survival, but of defiance. Captains wrote their final words before leaving port, prepared to burn their ships in the void if it meant taking the enemy with them. Children grew up whispering the phrase painted across walls, chanted in training yards, spoken on every broadcast: "We do not bow." The Council looked at humanity and saw madness. The enemy looked at humanity and saw prey that did not run. But the galaxy, watching in silence, trembling in fear, began to see something else. For the first time, a single thought began to spread through the stars. If the humans could stand, maybe others could too. If the humans could defy the darkness, maybe the galaxy was not yet lost. But until then, Earth stood alone. and in the cold void of space, as the mysterious empire's fleets pushed ever closer, a promise burned in human hearts. They would not kneel, they would not surrender. Humanity would fight, even if no one else did. The first human scouts saw the enemy ships before anyone else. They appeared like shadows at the edge of known space, sliding into human-controlled sectors without warning, without negotiation, without even a signal. Silent, dark and massive, the enemy vessels cut through the void as if they owned it. The aliens who had surrendered had described them as storms, endless, merciless storms that consumed everything in their path. But words were not enough to capture the terror of facing them in person. These ships were not like the Council's polished fleets or humanity's rugged warcraft. They were built for one thing only: destruction. On board the human outpost stationed near the frontier, alarms screamed. Radar operators stared at the screens, eyes wide, as more and more blips appeared, dozens at first, then hundreds. The void filled with them, stretching farther than sensors could map. The call went out. Earth received the warning. Humanity's fleet scrambled from hidden docks, engines burning hot as they rushed to meet the storm. For the first time in galactic history, the mysterious empire was about to meet resistance that would not break. The Council watched from afar. Some alien leaders sat in silence, expecting Earth's fleet to vanish like all the others. Some mocked the humans, calling them reckless children about to learn their lesson. But in the hidden corners of the galaxy, others leaned forward in hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, the humans might hold. The two forces met in the darkness between stars. The enemy armada stretched like an ocean of metal, a tide that swallowed starlight. Humanity's fleet was smaller, scattered, and far less advanced. But the humans had something the others did not. They had chosen to fight. The first exchange came like thunder. Energy beams tore through the void, tearing apart the leading ships of both sides. Human destroyers burned in seconds, but their captains refused to flee. Instead, they rammed their broken vessels into enemy cruisers, detonating reactors in desperate suicide runs. Whole sectors of the void lit up in fire. Alien observers gasped in disbelief. No one fought like this. No one threw away ships and lived so willingly. To them, it looked like madness. To humanity, it was survival. The battle raged for hours. Every time the enemy pressed forward, the humans countered with ambushes and boarding actions. Teams of Marines in reinforced suits launched across the void, clamping onto enemy hulls and cutting their way inside. In brutal close-quarters fighting, they slaughtered the invaders room by room, leaving enemy ships crippled from within. The mysterious empire had never faced this kind of resistance. They were used to fleets breaking at the first sign of pressure, species surrendering before a single shot was fired. But the humans did not break. Even as their ships were torn apart, even as their numbers dwindled, they held the line. When the battle ended, the void was a graveyard. Hundreds of ships from both sides drifted burning and broken. Humanity had lost much. Entire squadrons were gone, thousands of lives extinguished. But for the first time in memory, the enemy had not claimed an easy victory. They had been slowed. They had been bloodied. The Council could not believe it. Reports flooded their chambers. The humans had stood against the storm. They had survived the first clash. It was not victory, but it was not defeat either. And that was something no other species could claim. Whispers spread across the galaxy. Perhaps the humans were not reckless after all. Perhaps they were something else. Something the Empire had not expected. On Earth, Admiral Cade stood before the surviving fleet. His voice carried across every channel. His words were simple, but they burned with fire. They bleed. They are not gods. They can be fought, and humanity will fight them again. For the first time, the enemy empire hesitated. For the first time, the galaxy saw a flicker of hope, and for the first time, in the endless silence of fear, a new sound spread across the stars. Not surrender, not despair. It was the sound of defiance. Humanity had clashed with the void and had not fallen. The war was only beginning. The news of the first battle spread faster than light across the galaxy. It was carried on broken transmissions, on whispered reports, on the desperate words of refugees who had escaped destruction. For the first time in months, the messages were not only about silence and loss. They carried something new, something the galaxy had almost forgotten. Hope. The mysterious empire had been slowed, not defeated, not destroyed, but slowed. The humans had done what no one else had managed. They had faced the storm and remained standing. In the dark corridors of distant space stations, aliens huddled around flickering screens, replaying the fragments of the clash. They watched human ships ram into enemy cruisers with fire and fury. They saw boarding pods slam into alien hulls, releasing soldiers who fought until their last breath. They listened to Admiral Cade's words, heavy and unshaken. They bleed. The whispers began. Did you hear? The humans held the line. They fought back. No one has ever done that before. Maybe they can win. But not everyone believed. For many, fear was still stronger than hope. Entire governments dismissed the humans as reckless. Fools, calling their defiance pointless. They only delayed the inevitable, declared a council minister in one of their hollow speeches. The humans will fall as the others did. Yet in private, even the council members could not ignore the reports. The enemy empire had taken losses. Ships destroyed, soldiers killed, entire fleets forced to regroup. It was the first crack in the image of invincibility the enemy had built. And it was the humans who had made it. On Earth, the survivors of the first clash returned to dock. Their ships were scarred, their numbers thinned, but their spirits unbroken. Entire cities gathered to welcome them home, cheering the battered vessels as if they were legends. Children pointed at the skies, whispering about the Marines who had boarded enemy cruisers with nothing but steel and will. The fallen were honored, their names etched into memory, their sacrifice celebrated as proof that humanity would never. Indeed, refugees began to arrive too, ships filled with the broken and the lost, aliens who had fled worlds already swallowed by the storm. They came with fear in their eyes, but found something unexpected on Earth. Not despair, not surrender, but determination. For the first time since the darkness began, they saw a species that still stood tall. Some begged for protection. Some offered their skills, their knowledge, their loyalty. And some simply whispered, "Do not stop fighting. If you fight, maybe we will find courage again." The Council hated this. They accused Earth of recklessness, of drawing attention, of putting the galaxy at greater risk. They issued statements condemning humanity's defiance as dangerous. Yet behind the scenes they were breaking. Their fleets had failed, their unity was shattered, and now their authority was crumbling as smaller civilizations began to look not to them, but to Earth. In hidden channels, supplies began to flow. Fuel shipments, weapons, old technology the Council had long forbidden. Some worlds, still too afraid to stand openly, sent what they could in secret. Humanity was no longer alone, though the help was. Small and fragile, but even this frightened the enemy. In their endless advance, they had never seen resistance spread. They had never faced a foe whose defiance infected others like a flame. Reports of hesitation appeared in their command chains. Scouts noted strange activity, human ships moving faster, building more, training harder. It was not the behavior of prey. Humanity had become a symbol, not just of survival, but of defiance. The whispers grew louder, in alien markets, in dark taverns, in broken refugee camps. The same phrase began to circulate: "If the humans stand, maybe we can too." The mysterious empire pushed closer to Earth, preparing for their next strike. They believed they would crush this defiance as easily as they had crushed every other species, but they did not understand humanity. They did not understand that fear could not bend them, that survival was etched into their very bones. The galaxy trembled, the council quivered, the empire prepared its fury, and in the heart of human space, the whispers of defiance became something stronger. They became a promise. Humanity would fight again, and this time they would not stand alone. The council chamber was a monument of power, carved from stone older than most civilizations. Its ceilings reached higher than the eyes could follow, banners of hundreds of species hanging in silence. Once this chamber had been alive with debate, with confidence, with the certainty that the galaxy was united under its leadership. But now it was a tomb of whispers. The mysterious empire still advanced. Every day new reports arrived, colonies erased, fleets destroyed, worlds silenced. Yet the news of humanity's resistance clung to the air like smoke. The humans had fought, and though they had bled, they had not broken. The whispers of their defiance had spread, and with it came something the council could not control: doubt. The chancellor of the council slammed a hand onto the great table, his voice trembling with anger. This madness must end. Humanity is reckless. Their defiance draws the enemy's wrath. Already smaller worlds are whispering of rebellion. If they continue, the whole galaxy will suffer. Across from him, another delegate, her scales shimmering faintly under the chamber lights, shook her head. "You call it madness, Chancellor, but I call it courage. Humanity has done what none of us could. They have proved the enemy is not untouchable." The chamber erupted into noise, some shouting in agreement, others spitting accusations. For the first time in living memory, the council was divided not by politics or trade, but by fear. Half demanded surrender, the other half secretly admired. The humans, though few, dared to say it aloud, but even among those who admired, there was hesitation. To openly support humanity was to risk destruction. The Empire's shadow loomed too large, and the Council's strength had withered too far. So, in public, they condemned Earth, calling them dangerous, reckless, and doomed. Word of this condemnation reached human ears. The ambassador from Earth stood in the chamber, surrounded by voices that accused, mocked, and threatened. Still, he did not bend. He looked at the rows of alien leaders and spoke with steady calm. "Perhaps you have forgotten what survival means. Perhaps you have forgotten that fear does not protect you, it consumes you. Humanity has not forgotten, and whether you stand with us or against us, we will fight. We will never bow." The words echoed through the chamber, met with silence, then nervous laughter, then more angry voices. But beneath the noise, some of the delegates lowered their eyes, unable to meet the human's gaze. They knew he spoke the truth. When the ambassador left, the chamber remained broken. The council, once the strongest voice in the galaxy, had become nothing more than frightened leaders clinging to power. They issued decrees against Earth, cutting off trade, blocking aid, declaring humanity a threat to galactic stability. But the words were hollow. Their fleets were gone. Their authority was crumbling. Meanwhile, the galaxy itself had begun to shift. Refugees continued to pour into human space, bringing stories of despair, but also carrying whispers of admiration. In hidden places, smaller civilizations began to prepare, inspired by the humans' defiance. The council could not stop it. Their grip was slipping. In the quiet of their private chambers, some council leaders admitted what they could never say aloud. Humanity had done more than fight. Humanity had broken the illusion. The Empire was not invincible. And if the humans could resist, maybe others could too, but the Chancellor and his allies refused to see it. To them, humanity was the real danger, not because they were weak, but because they were strong. Strong enough to inspire, strong enough to change the galaxy, strong enough to show the truth. And so the council fractured. Some called for surrender, others whispered of rebellion, and all the while humanity stood alone, watching as the so-called leaders of the galaxy tore themselves apart. The council was broken. Their voices no longer carried the weight of unity, only the sound of fear. The galaxy needed a leader, the galaxy needed a symbol, and the galaxy found one, not in the council, but in the species they had mocked as reckless children, in the humans. The void was silent. For weeks, the Empire had moved unchallenged, sweeping through the galaxy like a storm of shadows. Planets burned, fleets vanished, and the stars themselves seemed dimmer with every passing day. The council was broken, its authority crumbling, and species across the galaxy cowered behind barricades of fear, but not humanity. When the first human fleet moved into the darkness, there was no grand announcement. No speeches, no promises, no declarations to the galaxy. They slipped into the void with quiet purpose, their ships like predators moving through tall grass. Humanity knew the galaxy watched them, doubted them, condemned them. None of it mattered. What mattered was survival. What mattered was showing the enemy that the fire of Earth could not be extinguished. The first clash came near the ruins of a once proud world, now nothing but ash and silence. Empire warships lingered there, waiting, their hulls sharp and black, shaped like blades designed to carve through hope itself. Their presence was not for conquest, but for terror. They wanted the survivors to know resistance was useless. But resistance had come. The human fleet arrived in silence, forming a line against the void. No one else stood with them, not a single ally dared join. Still, the humans did not hesitate. The order was given, weapons armed, engines roared, the fire in the darkness was lit. The battle began with a blaze. Human torpedoes streaked across the void, cutting through the black hulls of the Empire's ships. The Empire responded with ruthless precision, their beams tearing into human shields, ripping apart smaller vessels in explosions of flame. The void lit up like a dying star. Every second was brutal. Ships shattered, crews screamed, hulls burned, yet the humans did not falter. Where one ship fell, another surged forward. Where the Empire pressed, humanity pushed back harder. They fought not like prey scrambling for life, but like predators baring their teeth. The enemy, for the first time, hesitated. Their ships, designed to intimidate, suddenly found themselves bleeding. Their formations cracked. Their commanders gave orders tinged with something new, doubt. Among the stars, the humans' fire spread. Coordinated strikes, daring maneuvers, reckless courage. No other species would have dared to fight like this, to sacrifice so much in the face of certain death. But the humans did. They always did. One ship, the UNS Valiant, broke through the Empire's line, its guns tearing open the flagship's hull. The explosion lit the battlefield, a beacon in the void. For a heartbeat, the impossible had happened. The Empire had bled, before the eyes of the galaxy. Across alien worlds, hidden transmissions carried the news. The humans had fought. The humans had not only resisted, but wounded the darkness itself. Refugees whispered the tale. Soldiers on distant fronts repeated it in awe. Children in hiding spoke the word human with new reverence. The Empire retreated from the battlefield, not in defeat but in surprise. They had expected another easy victory, another civilization crumbling before their shadow. Instead, they had found fire. But victory came at a cost. Human ships floated as wreckage, thousands of lives gone. The survivors bore scars deeper than steel, yet their spirits burned brighter. Humanity had made their point. The void was no longer silent. The fire had been lit, and it would not go out. In the darkness, the galaxy began to stir. The council remained broken, its leaders squabbling. But the people, the billions living in fear, looked to the humans and felt something they had not felt in years. Hope, and for the first time, the Empire understood that this war would not be as simple as crushing another civilization. For the first time, they realized they faced an enemy unlike any other. The humans had stood alone, they had burned in the darkness, and they had not bowed. The void after the battle still reeked of death. Wreckage drifted through the black, human steel twisted with the Empire's jagged hulls. Thousands of lives had been lost, and yet the humans had won something no one thought possible. A scar, burned into the enemy's pride. But humanity knew this was only the beginning. The Empire would return, stronger and angrier. Their numbers were endless, their machines relentless. Humanity could not match them in brute force. To fight on their terms was suicide. And so Earth chose another path, a gambit. In the underground chambers of Earth's Defense Command, voices clashed. Admirals, scientists, and diplomats argued over maps of star systems, scattered with red markers where the Empire had struck. The Council of Humanity was not like the Galactic Council. There was no time for endless debate. Decisions here meant survival. They outnumber us 100 to 1, one admiral growled, tracing the map with a scarred hand. If we keep throwing fleets at them, we'll bleed ourselves dry. Then we don't fight their fleets, another replied, her voice sharp. We cut their supply lines. We strike where they don't expect. We make them bleed where it hurts. The room quieted. It was a dangerous plan. It was also the only chance they had. The gambit was set in motion. Small, fast human ships the Empire overlooked as insignificant, slipped behind enemy lines. They struck like wolves in the dark, tearing apart fuel depots, ambushing isolated convoys, vanishing before the Empire could respond. Where the Empire advanced, they found their reinforcements gone. Where their fleets gathered, supplies never arrived. And always, at the edge of destruction, there was a human ship waiting to strike. The galaxy watched in silence. Whispers spread from world to world. The humans were not just resisting, they were outthinking the Empire. Every victory was small, but each one shook the illusion of invincibility. For the first time, the Empire's advance slowed, not because they were weak, but because their enemy refused to fight by the rules. The humans had rewritten the game, and the Empire did not know how to respond. But gambits carry risks. Humanity's fleets were stretched thin, their resources strained. Every victory cost lives they could not replace. For every supply depot destroyed, another human ship vanished, its crew lost in the void, and the Empire was learning. Slowly, carefully, they began to adapt. They set traps of their own, sacrificing fleets to lure the humans in. The fire that had spread in the darkness threatened to consume itself. Still, humanity pressed forward. They had no choice. The galaxy had begun to whisper, and those whispers had to be fed with action. If the humans stopped now, if they faltered even once, the fragile hope they had sparked would die. The gambit was more than survival. It was a message, a challenge carved into the stars. We will not fight your war by your rules. We will not kneel. We will not break. We will teach the galaxy that resistance is possible, even if it kills us. And somewhere, deep within the Empire's vast machine, a single truth began to take root. A truth more dangerous than any weapon. Humanity was not afraid to die, as long as it meant the enemy bled with them. The gambit was underway, and the galaxy held its breath. The day began in silence. For months the Empire had tightened its grip, crushing world after world. Humanity's gambit had slowed them, bloodied them, but not stopped them. The enemy still advanced, vast fleets, blotting out starlight wherever they went. And yet, something had changed. The galaxy was no longer blind. The humans had shown that resistance was not only possible, it was necessary, and now the day had come when silence broke. It started with a single human transmission, broadcast not in secret, not hidden in code, but shouted openly across the void. We stand, alone if we must, together if we can, but we will never bow. The words echoed across 1,000 systems. On council worlds, leaders scoffed, yet their people listened. In hidden colonies, refugees wept. On conquered planets, the enslaved lifted their heads to the sky. And then, something the Empire had never imagined, others answered. The first to rise were the smallest. Civilizations the Council had long dismissed as weak or primitive. They had nothing left to lose, so they whispered, "Back, we stand too." Their ships were few, their weapons outdated, but their courage burned. Then came others. Worlds that had once condemned Earth now sent quiet signals of support. Fleets once hoarded for self-preservation began to move. Supplies flowed in secret channels. Soldiers abandoned orders of surrender to join the humans' cause. And when the Empire's next assault came, they found not a lone human fleet, but hundreds of ships from dozens of species gathered under one banner. The banner of defiance. The battle was chaos. Empire ships descended in endless waves, their black hulls gleaming like knives. But where once humanity had stood alone, now the void burned with countless lights. Human vessels fought at the center, striking hard and fast, while alien ships, awkward, untested but determined, shielded their flanks. What they lacked in training, they made up for in resolve. For every ship the Empire destroyed, 2 more rose in defiance. For every scream of terror, there was a roar of courage. The galaxy, once silent, was now alive with fire. On the bridge of a human flagship, an admiral watched the battle unfold, her voice steady as she gave orders. "Hold the line, no retreat. Today we show them we are not prey." And across the Bomims, alien commanders echoed her words. For the first time in history, species that had never spoken as equals now fought side by side. The Empire pressed hard, their might overwhelming. But the tide did not break. The humans' gambit had weakened them, and now the galaxy exploited every fracture. Supply lines burned, flanks collapsed, fear spread, not among the defenders, but among the Empire itself. And then it happened. A moment carved into history. A single massive Empire dreadnought, a ship that had haunted the stars for decades, moved to crush the defenders. It towered over the battlefield, a fortress of death. But the humans did not face it alone. Dozens of alien ships surged forward with them, weaving through fire, sacrificing themselves to open a path. The final blow came from a human vessel, its last torpedoes slamming into the dreadnought's heart. The explosion lit the void brighter than a star, a beacon for every world watching. The Empire staggered, not defeated, not yet, but shaken. For the first time they had faced not isolated prey, but a united galaxy, and they had not won. When the battle ended, wreckage filled the void. The cost was staggering. Tens of thousands dead, hundreds of ships lost. But for the first time in living memory, the galaxy stood tall, no longer cowering, no longer whispering, no longer waiting for death. Humanity had lit the fire, but the galaxy had carried it. The Council was broken, but something greater had risen in its place, a unity born not of politics, but of survival, of courage, of defiance. And though the war was far from over, a message had been written in blood and flame. The Empire may be strong, but the galaxy will not bow, and at the heart of it all, standing unbroken, humanity watched the stars burn and smiled.